Hello and welcome to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I just bit my tongue. But yeah, this is going to be a podcast where we talk about the superhero movies of 2017. In my opinion, I think it could be considered the best year for superhero movies. And you can listen to the podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud, the Nerd Soup Podcast, iTunes, the Nerd Soup Podcast. We're trying to appear on other apps and stuff, but the verification, everything in this world, I'm trying to buy some Bitcoin and some cryptocurrencies, and nobody can verify me on these websites. It's ridiculous. Like scan your eyeballs, cut your hand, blood. It's ridiculous. Okay.
I doubt none of that was
I have
asked of you.
no idea how Bitcoin works.
I don't even think it's real.
Okay, you guys want to just...
it's not. That's
it's
the
not
point.
real?
Yeah.
It's not. You can't. It's not tangible.
Isn't all money fictional in reality?
Oh, here we go with this existentialism. No, I agree with that. But I'm here with Aaron, the monkey. Aaron, how are you today?
Doing great. Ready to talk some superhero movies. Like you said, there wasn't really a bad movie, a superhero film this year. So that's really rare. The past few years, there's been some stinkers, but I think we had a good grouping this year.
And we're also here with the purple lady, Marissa. How are you today?
I'm good. As far as superhero movies go, I would say I enjoyed every single one that came out, which, like Aaron said, it usually doesn't happen. Usually there's one that's completely awful.
Yeah, I thought 2016 was going to be the year. But there were a lot of polarizing superhero movies that year. This one, I think, like you said, I enjoyed every single one of them. So, Aaron, I guess we'll start with your list, the way you rank them. And
7?
Yeah, 7. We're including Lego Batman.
Oh, of course. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. Start worst to best.
Yeah, real quick, then we'll talk about them. I thought the worst was Guardians. Not saying I didn't like Guardians. I enjoyed it a lot. But it's on Netflix now, and I tried rewatching it the other day. I could not get through it. I think it was like an in-the-moment theater-type movie, which I really enjoyed the first time, but upon second viewing, some of the comedy fell flat and felt a little forced at times. Second to last, I'm going to go with, it gets tough over here, but Thor. Again, I thought it was fine, but, with the Marvel movies, it kind of just gets a little redundant at times, so that's why I have Thor there. Then I'm going to go with Spider-Man, which I know is a favorite of you guys, but like I said before, I don't hate Marvel. I know it's coming off like that, but I'm not a dickhead. I did like Spider-Man. Like, none of these movies are bad, but we'll talk about it more. And then I'll go with Lego Batman, which probably the funniest movie I've seen this year. That was so awesome. Justice League, then Wonder Woman, and number one, I think it's pretty obvious for all of us, is Logan.
So you're just going to only talk about how you hate Marvel, but not about why you liked Wonder Woman or Justice League?
Well, I thought I was going on too long. You kind of gave me like...
No, I thought you were doing well.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about it later.
If you ran out of steam, just put up...
I wasn't running out of steam. I had plenty of steam.
Kind of felt steamed there. A little smoky.
Just go on with your lists.
No, that's a good list, and I would disagree with all of it. But we'll go with Marissa. Marissa, what's your list looking like for 2017?
Okay, at my number 7, I would put Justice League. I really did enjoy Justice League, especially because I went into it expecting it to be a terrible movie. But I was pleasantly surprised by it. Like, it was funny. It wasn't as dark as DC tends to get sometimes. I liked the team up and the characters. My favorite moment of the whole movie is when Flash is running and Superman, like, you can literally see his eyes turn. That's amazing.
That's the best moment.
I'm trying to find, like, an HD version of it that I can watch online somewhere so I can literally watch that scene again. My number 6, Guardians. Again, I liked it, but it was kind of too funny for me at sometimes. It was every single moment. It was just like a joke after joke after joke, and it was kind of exhausting. And then I'd say my 5 is Lego Batman. I love Lego Batman. It came out on my birthday, so it was like the greatest birthday I've ever had. I just...
Really?
Yeah.
Like, really, that it came out on her birthday, or that it was the best birthday?
Best birthday? I remember my best birthday. Fun Zone 7. Great time. Should have been there.
Oh, sick invite. Jesus.
I was 7. My mom handled the invitations.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to
take it up with her.
Talk with your mom.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at dinner.
In general, I think the Lego movies are just great. I know there's like a Ninjago one coming out soon, and I'm going to see it anyway.
It came out.
It came out already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Don't
when?
worry, I forgot about that also.
So wait, what's the next?
Ring the Teddy alarm. We had a Teddy moment.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Get a soundbite of him going, what?
When is the next?
I think the next one would be the Lego movie too.
Okay, so then I'm looking forward to that one. I wanted to see Ninjago. I can't believe I forgot about it. And then number 4, I would put Thor. It was great. It was funny, way better than the other Thor movies. But actually nothing happened in that movie when you think about it. So it can't be like my number 1 or anything. So my top 3 are Logan, Spider-Man, Homecoming, and Wonder Woman. My number 1 is Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man. Then number 2 is Logan, and 3 is Wonder Woman. But like, I loved all of them equally. But I will acknowledge that Logan is the best movie out of the 3. But I love Spider-Man so much, so he's my number 1.
That's fair. Okay, so my list, number 7 would be Guardians. Like you said, I like Guardians. When I first saw it, I thought they just took everything good about the first movie and they heightened it. It was the Jack Sparrow effect. It's like, oh, people like this one characteristic of Jack Sparrow. Well, then we're just going to make him that for the whole movie. And Drax is a character that I felt just completely, his role was diminished throughout the film. Talk about a movie that nothing happens. Drax does nothing in Guardians except say, my nipples. So that's number 7 for me. I thought it was a fun movie. I actually rewatched it the other day on Netflix. I'm like, okay, the comedy is a little bit much, but, you could sit back, drink your hot cocoa, have a laugh, have a couple of yucks. Why are you giving me that look? You don't like hot cocoa?
Well, I can't talk during your whole monologue, so I'm just being expressive with my eyes. So
okay. Good thing to do that on a podcast.
Well, if you want, for you, when you want to know what I'm thinking about it, just,
Number 6, Thor. Again, I thought Thor was a good comedy. I didn't think it was a great comedy, but like you said, what really happened in Thor? It's just, it feels, like you said, repetitive. The Marvel movies, I know what I'm going to get. They don't really throw me for a loop anymore unless they're made by Fox, but now that's over. So, number 5, Justice League, another movie that people are going to say, how, you like Justice League better than Thor? I did. I thought it was a solid team-up movie. I thought it was similar to the Avengers. They handled the characters well. The villain kind of sucked. But this is a movie that I've always wanted to see since I watched the Justice League animated series. To see that moment with Flash and Superman, to see the dynamic between Batman and Wonder Woman, who's going to lead the team. I thought it was a fine movie. I'm disappointed that it didn't do that well at the box office. Number 4, Lego Batman, best comedy of the year. Almost made my top 10 movies of the year. Just missed the cutoff. It's fucking hilarious. What can you say about that movie? Number 3, Wonder Woman. Love the first 2 acts. Patty Jenkins, it's a shame that it took her so long to get another feature film after Monster. It's like, oh, you got Charlize Theron an Academy Award? Well, you're going to have to take 13 years off, and then you can direct Wonder Woman. Great movie, terrible third act. Number 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, number 9 on my top 10 list. Best Spider-Man movie of all time. I know people are going to lose their minds when they hear that. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, I watched them recently, don't really hold up. And number 1, Logan. To me, the second best movie of the year behind Blade Runner 2049. Had to get in a nod to Blade Runner 2049 on every recording that I do. But Logan, I mean, it's not the anti-comic book movie that I think we've yet to see, but it was just so good. And to Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, giving their best performances as these 2 iconic characters. One of the best movies of the year. I hope it gets nominated for Oscars. If it doesn't, I'll kill myself. And yeah, that's my list. I think you could say this is the best year for superhero films ever.
I felt like all our lists were kind of like a red letter media skit. So after every movie, it's like, I love Marvel, but no, we love Marvel. No, I like Thor. Thor's good. but I love Thor.
I don't want to get somebody showing up to my house in black suits, like some Disney hitmen. Hitman's Bodyguard. In honor of Teddy not being able to attend this recording, he wanted to include Atomic Blonde on this list. First of all, Atomic Blonde was terrible.
I
It was
think I ever
fine.
saw Atomic
It was
Blonde.
fine.
It's coming out same month as Ninjago.
I googled it. It came out in September.
Funny thing is, like, that wasn't a joke or a bit or anything. That's Teddy.
No, Ted Deadass wanted to put Atomic Blonde on this list, and I was kind of like, no, Ted, you bum. He's since been fired. So what was the worst one on your list? It was
Guardians.
Okay, so I guess we'll start with Guardians.
Because Marissa's list doesn't matter.
What was the worst one on yours?
Justice League.
Justice League. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it was Guardians, right?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about both of them. Guardians. What worked for you? What didn't work for you?
Definitely had its moments. It was a lot. I thought the first one, like you said, was perfect for that new group of characters. Like, no, we didn't really know much about Guardians, and I think the first movie was fantastic. And they tried to do too much with the characters. Oh, you like this? Well, you thought Drax was funny and like you didn't really get references. Well, he's gonna do that times 10. Baby Groot, wasn't the biggest fan. He had his moments, like some funny moments, like the scenes when he's like they're trying to get at Yondu's fin. Another thing with Yondu, like, he's trying to kill Peter, but now like he's his father figure in this movie. But it was a lot of fun. It was definitely funny. It had its moments up and down. But I think on the rewatch, it's definitely a movie you had to see in theaters to get all the laughs, because I was just watching it on my couch, just no emotion at all during the rewatch. And then I was kind of like, I'm bored. I'm gonna go play 2K.
When you watch it with a packed theater, everybody's laughing at everything because it's the first time we've all seen it. Going back to Yondu, I think it does kind of suffer from that Last Jedi effect too, where it's a sequel where it took things from the first movie and it was like, don't remember those things, forget about those things. Yondu, like you said, the relationship with Peter Quill, he didn't really feel like a father. He kind of felt like a guy who was just a dickhead and kept the kid around.
He's not his father, he's his daddy.
He's his daddy. But I love the stuff that they did with Yondu in this movie. I thought Michael Rooker was the best part of this movie and the Yondu character. Kurt Russell as Ego, that whole
I was going to get to that. For the first, I liked Ego, but then they kind of ruined, not, I guess, his character, but like an emotional scene with him and Peter at the end. And like when they do the David Hasselhoff bit.
That was my favorite scene of the movie, too, when he finds out that Ego killed his mother and he just pulls out the gats and he's busting them up. I was like, oh my God, Marvel's getting a little dark here. And then he's like, I tried to be the father you always wanted me to be. I'm like, wow, that just ruined the whole scene for me.
And I feel like it did that a lot, where it took like great scenes, great moments, and they had like the timer off. It was like, oh, we need a joke in here. And they put
James, it's been 5 minutes, joke. One joke that I thought did work for me that didn't work for other people is when they're coming head to head, when they're both flying and they're creating the rock and Peter becomes Pac-Man. I thought that was such a great joke because that's what he would do. The family dynamic, are my friends my family or is my blood relatives my family? The exposition in this movie, it was kind of telling you what the movie was. It didn't let you figure it out for yourself. The dialogue was very direct. In general,
I don't think the movie was very memorable. Like you watched it. I had to Google the plot summary before we did this because I didn't. I remembered almost nothing that happened in the movie.
You were checking to see when it comes out.
Yeah, it also came out in September.
Okay. No, I think that's a good point. Like the first Guardians, there's so many like 2-minute scenes that you think back that you can watch on YouTube, like the prison break scene, the scene when they go to kill Ronan, the dance scene when they're having the dance off.
Do you think it's like, you always say like when I complain about like a Marvel joke, it was like, but you love Guardians 1, like that's your favorite superhero movie. With those characters, it works. Like that's their dynamic. Those are the type of characters that they convey. It's more of a comedy than more of a serious action movie. So I just think they went a little too far with some of the comedy and some of the jokes. It felt really forced in this one.
All right, so let's go to Justice League. What do you guys think worked and didn't work for Justice League?
I think one of the biggest issues is that DC really wanted to get their big team-up movie out there. So, like, with Avengers, I know everyone compares the two, but Avengers, like, we got a solo movie for pretty much everyone in the Avengers. Like, there was a lot of work that went into the first Avengers movie, and DC kind of released a couple movies, most of which are bad. And then we got the DC Justice League team-up. Aquaman, I loved Aquaman. I wish we had a whole movie for him. Same with The Flash, because I love The Flash, but...
I was joking. So I was giving her, like, a mean look, because she said... Most of the DC movies are bad.
Oh, I was like, what the hell is he?
I think my biggest problem with the movie is that it was condensed into 2 hours. I had a lot of things going for it. I felt like all the characters were played well. I thought Ezra Miller was a great addition. Jason Momoa. They took all the good things about Batman from Batman vs. Superman and brought it into Justice League, and I think expanded a little bit more in his character. I think Ben Affleck had a little more freedom to, like, not like a comical Batman, but like it was more situational, like where it wasn't too on the nose. I mean, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, she was great as always, and yeah, Henry Cavill. I think I liked how they actually saw like Superman, like he was Superman.
He seemed like he was having fun.
Yeah, but that's what it's supposed to be.
This guy still bothering you? That's my favorite moment.
He's fucking Superman, like, and they show like, oh shit, like that's why he's Superman. That's why he's as fast as the Flash, stronger than anyone else. Like that's what I want to see. I guess it kind of a lot of people didn't like that he was so overpowered, but.
No, I like the fact that they knew that they couldn't win without Superman. You know, Steppenwolf is one of the new gods, and talking about Steppenwolf, I am not as negative as other people when it comes to the CGI of Steppenwolf or the fact that he's not a great villain. I thought he was fine for the movie. Like, everybody talks about Loki as this great villain in the Avengers. I think he benefits because we've seen him before in Thor, like you said, with all the standalone movies. But I thought he was fine for the plot. I cared about seeing the characters and how they would interact. And out of all the characters, the one who got the least development was Aquaman. That's because they knew that the Aquaman solo movie is coming in 2018. It's when you think about their slate, what the hell are these guys going to do? Are they going to reboot? Are they going to keep going? Justice League overall, it worked for me because of the characters, because Ben Affleck's the best Batman we've ever had. Henry Cavill is the best Superman we've ever had. Ezra Miller as the Flash, I thought I was going to hate him. I thought he was the great comic relief in this movie. Ray Fisher as Cyborg.
He has the greatest voice.
Yeah, he does, right?
His voice was amazing.
Every time the characters were off screen and somebody was talking and it was Ray Fisher, I was like, damn, that's like a Batman voice without the modification. He's got the best Batman voice out of the team.
I forgot to mention, like, I thought all the characters were great, perfect cast. Like I said, it suffered from the short runtime, and...
Well, what do you think about the villain?
Very forgettable, very You know, because DC.
Good voiceover.
One thing with DC is like you always said, all right, the movies might not have been the best, but Michael Shannon as Zod was fantastic. Probably.
Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
No, like I know why you said it, and I just want to make me mad. I didn't mind him. It wasn't, you know.
Red Jolly Rancher. Can I have Zod's body, please? All right.
Well, yeah, only really Zod. I guess I'm trying to think.
Yeah. DC villains suck too.
Well, Zod's really good. And another thing,
Hubba.
it's probably the most fun I've had at a superhero movie this year. I guess I'm a DC fanboy. I love Justice League. That's why I
mean,
like it so
was
much, but
really fun to just like watch them interact with each other, like their team moments, especially at the end where like Superman's like, I think I want to die again or something like that. And Wonder Woman's like, oh, I work with children. Like that was great. I love that.
Yeah.
It made me care about them. Like I will go see all their solo movies and whatever the next Justice League movie is going to be about now.
Oh, too bad they're going to reboot it with Flashpoint.
I can't wait to get that movie on Blu-ray and watch it a bunch of times. Lego Batman, the next one. There's not really a lot of negatives about this one. I think that it kind of suffers from being just an animated film where it's not that deep. But the way that they explore Batman, the fact that he doesn't want a new family because he's afraid of losing them like he did his old family. I thought there was a lot of interesting Batman stuff going on in this movie. And the directors clearly know the Batman character, that they're well versed in Batman's history, his lore, his villains.
I love that Lego likes to boast that they have the rights to basically every character ever in
Yeah.
Lego format, so they throw whoever they want in the movies.
Voldemort.
The Eye of Sauron, like
Oh, me?
It would have been a good time.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was the funniest movie of the year. I don't think I've laughed that much at the theater this whole year, and I like just how they're not afraid to make fun of like DC and like things like that. How they did the whole Superman bit, and then with the whole thing with Batman and the Justice League. I don't know.
When Joker's like, "Who's your greatest villain?" Superman.
The Iron Man sucks. It was.
Oh yeah. Password to the Batcave.
when he goes to the Fortress of Solitude and they're having the party without him.
I was so sad, man. I felt so bad for him.
It's so funny because everything that people make fun of Batman for, like in the Batman Lego movie.
Yeah.
And like you said before, all the Lego Batman movies are so fun and funny, even though I didn't see Ninjago. But that doesn't really count. I mean, what? A ninja Lego movie? No, give me Batman and Chris Pratt.
I'm just going to say that I saw Thor twice. And both times I loved it. I walked out of the theater thinking, wow, this movie was hilarious. It's the best Thor movie I've ever seen. But I just think it suffers from the fact that it's like two different Thor movies and a Hulk movie, like mashed into one.
Well, I think they kind of just took whatever it was for the first two Thor movies and like, wow, those are awful. So we're just going to reinvent Thor. And I guess the best
I
way...
don't think the first two Thor movies are awful.
To be honest, I haven't seen either of them since they were released.
If you go back and watch that first Thor, it's before the Marvel formula really started to set in. That it actually feels like a standalone movie that wasn't made by execs at Disney. Like, do you like this joke? Put up your yes sign or no sign. It feels like a standalone movie made by Kenneth Branagh, a great director.
Well, yeah, I think they had more freedom to do it, which
Thor 2 sucks.
Yes,
It sucks. Yeah, that one sucks.
I don't hate the concept of the earlier ones, but I felt like if it's done right, that'd be an interesting take, like on a Marvel movie where Thor is a little bit more darker and edgier than the rest of them. This movie was a lot of fun, like really funny. Like the dynamic between him and Banner and Hulk was tremendous. I was really disappointed in Hela. I was excited when I heard Cate Blanchett was taking a Marvel villain on, and I love Cate Blanchett. I think she's a fantastic actress, but she was kind of wasted in this movie. Again, it's another I think I don't want to say a bad villain, but I definitely was disappointed. You know, she's cracking jokes like during serious moments and everything, very Marvel-y.
Was she cracking jokes?
A few ones when she was taking over Asgard and she had all like the warriors like and she was doing that big speech. She kind of couple Marvel jokes in there.
Yeah, her backstory seemed like it should have been a lot darker for the movie that she was in. That if you're going to have this backstory where it was just her and Odin just massacring all these different kingdoms and planets and taking over, and the dark history of Asgard, we see Odin as this benevolent ruler. And yeah, I think everything with Hela, all her scenes were good, but she was just underused. I wanted more of that dynamic, that family dynamic, and
I
the
think
hypocrisy of Odin.
I think that happened partially because they also wanted to get the Planet Hulk storyline in there.
Exactly.
And it's like they also left out really great parts of the Planet Hulk storyline. Like the comic, Hulk becomes like the ruler of Sakaar. Like he falls in love. He becomes intelligent. I think they call him Green Scar Hulk in that comic. And that he was like, yes, I like fighting now. This is my thing.
Yeah, and he was kind of like just a comedic side. It wasn't a side character.
It's
but
not that I didn't like it. Like I thought it was hilarious, but
Yeah, the only problems I have with Thor are the underused villain. It's
I think I'm just so
more of the same.
I'm just so tired of the Marvel formula where, like you said, nothing really has no effect on the.
We do take for granted the fact that they can at least make good movies every time. It's not easy
No,
to
they're
make
good.
a good movie.
I didn't hate Thor. I just I felt like I've seen it before.
It's like you take the director. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is probably James Gunn's best film. Thor Ragnarok, to me, it's not the best Taika Waititi film. I think it's his weakest film. You look at his filmography. I don't know. It's funny. I think we do take for granted the fact that I have to see Thor again without a packed theater to see if the humor really does hold up because I've only seen it once.
The second time I saw it in a relatively empty theater because I saw it on like a Wednesday night. Personally, for me, the jokes still held up. The part where Thor is talking about how Loki like turned into a snake and then like surprised him. I was like crying.
That part was funny.
And I knew it was coming the second time. But also speaking of Loki, I love that he was like the huge like villain in Avengers and now he's just like an annoying little brother.
Well, the great scene too is when they're in the elevator and he's like, yeah, you know, you betray me, I trust you, and that's how it really goes. I'm kind of over it, you know? You're a dick, I'm a good guy, and that's how it's going to be. And Loki was like, why don't you hate me anymore?
It's like the Joker scene.
How many times are they going to do that, though?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, look, he's kind of good. But
well, I thought it was pretty meta the way they referenced it. Like, how stupid is this? And then the get help thing was good, too.
I like some of the characters. I thought Valkyrie was a great addition.
I love Valkyrie.
Oh, yeah. The Han Solo of the MCU, as Taika Waititi likes to call her.
And who's the
Korg.
Korg, yeah.
Hey, man, we going on a planet. You want to come? New dog.
He tried to start a revolution. And it didn't have any flyers.
Didn't print enough pamphlets.
You know what? I'm moving Thor up a little.
Yeah. Come to think of it, Thor is pretty funny. I think it's a really good comedy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have a bias against comedies. When
I would say it's only so low on my list because the other movies were so good.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're picking like from the best year in superhero history. So it's like they're all good. We all like them, but you know, you have to put them somewhere. That's what we do. We quantify things with numbers. Next one, I guess. Our top three: Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, and Logan. What worked for you in Wonder Woman? What didn't work?
Like you said, I thought the first two acts were great. The third act is kind of just like a CGI boss battle, like most comic book movies.
The third act in Wonder Woman is terrible.
Yeah.
Except for the Steve Trevor sacrifice, everything else sucks.
I don't think it was a terrible.
I think it's terrible. The fight, to me, is... I lose interest every time I watch it. Because the first two acts are so good.
I like the way they introduced the character of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I love just the lore, the Amazons. I thought those scenes are fantastic. I liked how when she came into, I guess, what year is it, 1918?
Something like that, around World War I.
Yeah. That London, that environment, how she was kind of just like a fish out of water, and I thought they played it off well, because sometimes when you do that with a character, it gets kind of old and dry, but I felt like it wasn't forced, and her relationship with Steve Trevor is probably one of the better relationships I've seen in a comic book movie this year, and you kind of almost forget that it's a Wonder Woman movie because it's kind of real in that it's not a forced, it's not like overbearing that she's a superhero. It kind of comes natural to me, and I thought the scene on the battlefield in the trenches was fucking...
No Man's Land?
It was fucking awesome.
Best action scene, I think, of the year.
I think that scene, like, really... Wonder Woman, I think they really established Diana as a person before they established her as, like, a hero, which is why the No Man's Land scene is so great, because, yes, Diana can't just, like, watch people get hurt. Like, this town is being held by, like, the Nazis, and she can't just not do anything about it like everyone's telling her to.
But I like scenes like that, like action sequences like that more in superhero films because, like I said, it's not like forced. Like, she's not going around just beating the shit out of, like, some CGI monster, and it's just like a very...
Like the third act?
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Action sequences are always best when they're, like, pushing the plot forward, like pointless action sequence.
It was so important for her character to see her when she turns around and she turns back and she's got the tiara on. She takes off and she's got the outfit. She's just one woman against an army, and it's a very inspiring moment.
I got chills when I watched it
the
first time.
Me too. Oh. Her powers take a back seat to her actual motivations.
Exactly. Yeah, and the beginning, the first two acts to me, I think are flawless until you get to the first act. Like you said, fish out of water. And what I love too is that contrast between the beautiful Themyscira and then the run-down wartime London. You have this individual who's so naive yet so optimistic. All she wants to do is fight and fight against evil, and then she discovers that it's a lot more gray as opposed to being black and white. The romance between her and Steve Trevor, like you said, a great on-screen romance and great chemistry between the actors. Patty Jenkins, the way she handles this character, to me, it's you kind of hide the deficiencies of Gal Gadot as an actress when you have a director as good as Patty Jenkins, because she's great with her characters, like she was with Charlize Theron in Monster. She knows how to get the best out of her actors, and I'm glad that she's coming back for the second one. Like I said, first 2 acts flawless, third act terrible.
I didn't hate the third act nearly as much as you did.
To me, I think Ares was a lot worse than Steppenwolf.
Yeah, it kind of just pops up. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it was me from
Hey,
that.
I'm David Thewlis. I used to be Lupin in Harry Potter. Spider-Man Homecoming.
I love Spider-Man Homecoming, but I also love Spider-Man, as I've said 10,000 times already. So,
Best Spider-Man of all time?
yeah,
Movie?
in my opinion, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I recently rewatched all of the other Spider-Man movies, and Spider-Man 2 I think is great, but I don't know, part of me just can't get past the very 2000s nature of it, I guess.
It's funny, when you look at Spider-Man and then you look at Lord of the Rings, and you think, were these made at different times? Because the special effects in Lord of the Rings are so good, and the special effects in Spider-Man already look dated. And New York doesn't even look real. It looks like a video game city. I still like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, but I think I loved about this movie that it wasn't Peter's a senior in high school and then he graduates in the second act and he's already on to college.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
let's
the
see-
youngest Spider-Man. Tom Holland is the youngest Spider-Man we've had, because I looked it up. I think Tobey Maguire was 27 in the first Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield was also around 27. He might have been 28 or 29 even when he was Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Probably a lot of people are going to like this. Tobey Maguire.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's the best Spider-Man. I was like, oh, God.
No. You know,
I like his crying face.
I like Spider-Man the movie. I'm not a huge Tobey Maguire fan. Andrew Garfield.
I feel like Tobey Maguire's not that good of an actor.
He's not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why do you think he's not
I
in
think
anything?
It's and the
The
thing
Great
is,
Gatsby.
Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit.
We grew up with that. Like those are supposed to be our Spider-Man.
That's the only
movies.
reason why we like it. I'm just gonna be out there and say it. The movie's fine. Tobey Maguire, not too big on.
He's very like wide-eyed innocence the whole movie.
And I like Andrew Garfield. The movies were trash. Andrew Garfield's not like, you can't pass him off as a nerdy teenager
With
in high
his
school.
skateboard and trying to get a date. Look
Yeah.
at this movie star, good looks kid.
The
Can't get a date.
Andrew Garfield movies, I think, suffered because it was a movie not about like this kid who got bit by a spider and developed powers. It's like, look at this kid's dad who developed these spiders and he happened to get bit by one. So like the focus wasn't on Peter at all, which kind of defeats the purpose of a Spider-Man movie.
And the second one was so concerned about setting up the Sinister Six.
And then it didn't even happen.
Yeah, the second Amazing Spider-Man. Whoa, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the good stuff. Spider-Man: Homecoming, great comedy. You talk about sometimes the comedy in Marvel movies can feel unnatural, but the
No, this
setting for
makes
this
sense, yeah.
movie warrants that type of high school John Hughes 1980s vibe. Zendaya as not Mary Jane, but Mary Jane. I don't-
MJ.
She's
My friends
fucking-
call me
I think you
MJ.
butchered that name pronunciation, by the way.
What? Zendaya?
Is that how you say it?
Zendaya.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, that's a butcher. I don't think that's a butcher. That's a mispronunciation.
Well, you know.
People freaked out on me because I mispronounced Saoirse Ronan, the Irish woman's name. Look how that name is spelled and see if you can pronounce it.
Saoirse.
Yeah, it's like sorry, I love the scene when he's going to the dance and Zendaya sees him, Zendaya, and she gives him the finger. It's just like such a funny like there's so many great high school moments. It felt like high school in this movie. A lot of movies take high
Yeah.
school.
They
and
don't,
it
like-
doesn't feel like high school
They
at
don't
all.
just like use like high school as a backdrop for whatever else Peter Parker's got going on. It's like
yeah,
it's integral to what's happening in the movie, I would
Ned.
say.
Yeah, high school felt natural. I felt.
Ned.
I loved Ned.
What did we just see? Jumanji.
Yeah, that
It was like
yeah.
it's like an 80s it's like an 80s high school. It's like
30-year-old men walking around high school. Oh, you're really not gonna let me pass my test, teach?
no, it's like a bunch of like 40-year-olds
You're an
are
old
like
man.
we're like trying to write a high school in 2017. It's like, oh, well they'll act just like we did, but like they're on cell phones and Instagram and stuff. That's high school, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think it did a great job of having a high school feel to it, like a coming of age superhero movie. Very funny. Ned was hilarious.
Yeah, I love when he gets caught. It's like, what are you doing in
It's
here?
like watching porn.
The man in the chair. And Robert Downey Jr., I like that relationship too. A lot of people thought it was just going to be Iron Man
Hijacked
4.
by Iron Man.
Yeah, it wasn't at all. I think you can make a case they underused him. Maybe he could have been there, but I think he was there just the right amount of time.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think they overdid it at all.
Michael Keaton as Vulture, best MCU villain, I think.
I think it's
Oh,
always
yeah, he
great
was-
when for the first movie they don't go for like the world-ending apocalypse kind of villain because
yeah, it doesn't make sense because
how are you supposed to top it? Like how are you supposed to go up from there?
well,
Now
a lot
you
of,
can.
A lot
You
of
can
superhero
move
movies.
forward.
A lot of superhero movies. You're always like, hey, well, shouldn't like Captain America be like in on this or, You think Superman might try to, or Batman might try to take out
Yeah,
the
and they kinda
dancing
hint
witch
at this,
at
too.
Suicide Squad?
Well, Iron Man's like, the FBI will handle this.
Yeah, this is more condensed, like
Yeah.
where you can see like just Spider-Man and Iron Man just being involved in this situation. It's not a world-ending situation. It's more of a, I guess, kind of a street level, or just a heist, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like it could be a standalone comic book Spider-Man story. And I always love villains that feel like they're doing the right thing, that they're not villains, that this guy is just supporting his family. He's like, listen, your buddy Stark is doing the same thing that I'm doing. I'm selling weapons. He made his fortune selling weapons. Why are you on his side, kid? And you could see that they had a mutual respect for each other by the end of the movie.
I thought the scene in the car was fantastic. That was
Well, the scene when it's revealed that he's the father, that caught me. I
Really?
wasn't, because I was just having fun with the movie. And he's like, hey, Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, look at
no.
That's
I love
Michael
when
Keaton.
like Liz
He's
is
the bad guy.
You want to get nuts?
I love when Liz is like talking about all the times Peter's like been missing when Spider-Man's showing up and she's not figuring out, but like you could see it on the Vulture's face and the light literally turns green when he figures it out. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, it was
I thought
good
that
filmmaking.
That was the best scene in the movie. I feel like just
Yeah.
him just. It's like, yeah, I'll fucking kill you,
I'll
Spider-Man.
kill you, you little piece of shit. Thanks for saving my daughter's life, but I'll kill you.
I was watching, I think it was on the Honest trailer. They're like,
And your hot aunt.
the Honest trailer when like Spider-Man calls Liz's girlfriend. It's like, dude, she just said she'll go to the dance with you.
Oh, yeah. She was like, I'm dealing with my girlfriend's dad. I was like, hold on, Spider-Man, okay? You didn't even get to first base, you bum. Kind of ruined her life. But that's beside the point. Yeah, Spider-Man, great. I never thought I'd see Spider-Man in the MCU. So moving forward, like you said, you can get some of the big bad villains in the sequels. So yeah, Spider-Man: Homecoming, best Spider-Man of all time. Now number one on our list. Number one, it's the
Better
best.
movie.
Yeah, Logan.
I love this movie.
I'm starting to think Logan's the best comic book movie of all time over The Dark Knight.
Well, you would be wrong, but it's definitely second.
I think it's number one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie.
I hate when people are like, oh, it's the best superhero movie of the year. No, it's one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah.
Okay? Academy.
You fucking old box.
And your tuxedos and your gold statues. Okay, you listening? It was such a great movie. Right from the beginning, it set the tone. And the sad thing about, I guess, Fox going to Marvel is that they weren't afraid to take chances with a rated R, especially with Wolverine. Like, that's their biggest character of the X-Men, Wolverine. And they took a risk, made it a rated R, like a really dark, gritty movie. And it was absolutely perfect. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I thought the
Favorite scene?
I love the opening scene. I love the Wolverine versus Wolverine showdown. That was fucking.
The first one
No, when
or the end?
the clone comes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the first showdown.
To the house.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that scene too when he walks in and he sees her. Well, the clone holding X-23 and he's just like looking at him like, what the
Yo, when he killed
fuck?
Professor X, I was like, oh, is this like a dream or like what's going on here?
My favorite scene was probably when Professor X was having the seizure in the hotel.
Yes, I was just gonna say that too. That's my favorite
never
scene.
felt more tense in a movie theater. Where I was like, get there, man.
That was
Hurry
fucking
up.
sick.
He's fucking
Yeah.
climbing the walls with his claws.
I changed my answer. That was
I
fantastic.
love that scene.
I mean, it was emotional. It was funny at times. It was just dark,
Favorite scene?
gritty.
I would have to say it's like when they're in the forest and one of the kids tells him that if he takes that like drug or whatever it is, like it'll be the end of him, and he does it anyway, and he goes and like takes out all of the people that are
berserker
chasing
rage?
the kids. Yeah.
I get chills every time he turns to the camera and he does that scream, and you can like hear it in the distance from X-23's perspective. She's like, "Oh shit, yo, my daddy's here."
Everyone knew going into Logan or had a feeling that like he wasn't gonna make it out at the end, but like up until then I had hope. I was like, wow, he might make it. Like Wolverine might still be alive, and then that happened and I was like, nope, he's gonna die, but it's gonna be awesome to watch.
I almost shed a tear. Like I felt emotion. For,
Oh,
like,
you didn't cry the first time you saw it?
almost. You know?
I cry every time I see the ending.
Felt emotion for like.
When she flips the cross to an
Oh my
X,
God.
it kills me every time. Because it's just like so much nostalgia, you know?
The
with
girl
this
sitting next
character.
to me when we were watching, she was bawling.
Saul Hill? The ending to me, like you said, I was like, oh, maybe he'll make it out. But no, it's such a fitting end for this character.
And
And
such
like
a
you s-
great send-off for Hugh Jackman. Like, I know now that X-Men is in talks to actually be part of the MCU, he was like, I'm not coming back to do another movie.
Yeah, I think it's even better the fact that we got this movie right before the deal happened.
I mean, not even Hugh Jackman too. It's a great sending off for Patty Stew, Patrick Stewart. I don't know why I called him that.
We're gonna stop the recording. Patty Stew.
I have no idea why that came out of my mouth, but I'm gonna stick by it, and I'll refer to Patrick Stewart by that from now on. Don't listen if you don't want the video to be spoiled for you.
Go fuck yourself, you fucking little.
I said the video, not the movie, you douche.
The video?
Yeah.
What is he going to get spoiled about?
He wants to know what we felt. You know,
we did reference you in Atomic Blonde. But Daphne Keane, I mean, we talk about the legends, Daphne Keane. The best scene with Daphne Keane is when he figures out that she can talk. It's like, oh, thanks for getting me here,
kid. She immediately goes at him in Spanish.
Ricky, Bobby, Alicia, Jerome, North Dakota. Shut the fuck up. But the father-daughter dynamic, kid never had a father. Wolverine's never had a daughter. It's similar to that relationship that Wolverine had with Rogue in the first X-Men.
Wow, it's been a minute since I've seen the first X-Men.
Yeah, I was just rewatching that the other day, and I'm like, they kind of hinted at this a little bit. The final scene when they're holding hands, and he's like, oh, so this is what it feels like. I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I think a lot of the supporting cast was great, too. I feel like people didn't really give a lot of props to Boyd Holbrook. I thought he played a great villain. He was played a very menacing guy. I think that first scene when he gets into that limousine in the back, and he's just, like, sitting there all cool and collected, you're like, oh, he doesn't know he's dealing with Wolverine. And he's like, oh, yeah, he does. He's, like, cocky about it. I thought he did a great job. Stephen Merchant as...
Caliban.
Caliban, yeah. I prepared a little.
Prepared by asking her? What?
It was funny seeing him take that role since I know him from the Ricky Gervais show, which we may or may not have.
Let's look. It's a podcast. So.
Seeing him in that role, I was kind of like, what? Like, that's a lot better than what they did in X-Men Apocalypse.
What'd you think about the R rating?
Well deserved. I mean, that's how you want Wolverine to go out. You want Hugh Jackman, he's not pulling any punches. Like, he's cutting people up. He's like, I mean, from that first scene when they're shooting him at the shotgun and he gets off and he just starts cutting these dudes' heads off. I was like, all right, yes.
It's like a Street Fighter.
Finally let Wolverine be Wolverine. Before they always made jokes like this is a rated PG-13 movie, so Wolverine will be the only one who gets the single curse word throughout the whole movie.
Where's the blood?
Was it Days of Future Past or the one that came before that? First Stand.
When they're like, hey, we're putting together a team, and he's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And they just walk out. And Patrick Stewart got it in, not Patrick Stewart, James McAvoy got it in Days of Future Past. He's like, oh, I remember you. We tried to recruit you. I remember you said, go fuck yourself. Now it's just...
No limits today.
No fuck limits.
Especially with Professor X.
Yeah.
I was so surprised.
He's like, do you want me to blow on them, the pills? He's
Sir Patrick.
Go fuck yourself, Logan. Sir Patty.
Sir Patty.
Yeah, Logan #1, but that kind of really wraps it up. 2018.
We're getting the next Avengers movie. Who knows how that'll go?
Infinity War, Black Panther. Infinity War, Black Panther. What else? What's that?
Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2.
Just thought of that spontaneously.
Hey, I
mean, your nice Betty White.
I have high hopes.
Captain Marvel's not coming out. It's 2019.
19.
Okay.
Yeah, good on it.
Aquaman. Boo.
Ninjago.
Han Solo. Ended on a bad note.